Oh, hello there. Yes. Well, yesterday was a bit of a slow news day, wasn't it? I mean, apart from the genocide and the general election, it was still a pretty slow news day. And now sections of the media to concentrate on, once again, the government's national service idea. And there was this idea that the royals might have to do it, which would be dreadful, wouldn't it? It would be awful if they had to do something, because obviously, given their good genetic quality and, obvious signs of wealth and their ability to speak lovely, they should obviously do other things. Which brings me neatly to today's topic, because yesterday how can I describe it? Lucy Burton in the Telegraph, who didn't go to a very good school because I think her parents couldn't afford it, to be quite honest, wrote this piece about Britain's glass ceiling barely has a crack in it. And it was about the Camden's People's Theatre, which made the mistake of putting out a job advert about a week ago. And it was unfortunately worded because it seemed to suggest that working class people were criminals. Which, of course, they are, aren't they? Let's face it, you never heard of corporate manslaughter. But leaving that aside, So I was rather intrigued by this because if you look at some of the top-rated comments, they fall into about three groups. There are those which agree with her, sort of people that have a vague understanding of basic sociological ideas, if you like, and then you get all of the sort of classic Telegraph boomers who are divided basically into the sort of two camps. And let's just read this first of all. What a facile article written from a chip of the shoulder point of view. Has it ever occurred to the author that it's just possible that bright people tend to have bright children because the parents are bright, they have good jobs and can afford good schooling? The lack of grammar schools does not help those who are poorer. Additionally, the professions now have huge numbers of South Asian faces, many of whom do extremely well, and these are from families where hard work since arrival has enabled them to become richer. That hardly supports the article's premise, nor Sherry Blair's lefty lawyer dogma. I wasn't really quite sure about the Sherry Blair thing there, but that emphasis on genes, you see, because we all know that if you have bright parents, you automatically have bright children. I mean, just that's the way that genes work, isn't it? Definitely, and there was a slice running all the way through it about, it's not like the 60s anymore because we don't have grammar schools. Yes, I know, and that's because it's not like the 60s anymore. Even with grammar schools, doesn't make any difference, really. I went to a grammar school. You see? See how I turned out. So that was that one strand, the kind of genes thing, as well as mixed in with a bit of hard work, because that's what you need. And that way you will succeed in life, of course, because just look at me. I was born in 1958, and my parents were stockbrokers and everything was fine. Which is a strand that I've heard throughout my life. Margaret Thatcher in 81, I think it was, brought out the Black Report, which was asked a simple question as to why people were poor. And the Black Report came out with a wrong answer. And, was buried by the Thatcher administration because it strongly suggested that basically the reason why poor people are poor is because it's an economic function in society rather than they're genetically inferior. Anyway, moving on to the second strand, speaking skills. When you listen to some of the newest newsreaders and presenters on radio and TV, you wonder how they got the job. I'm sick to death of listening to people who speak badly. Yes, indeed. And some of the other comments were, Enoch was right. Oh, I don't think that's his actual surname. I think it was Enoch. I'm a racist, actually, but I suspect the Caribbean farm animal is the preferred accent at the BBC. That's still up after about 12 hours, which is astounding. And maybe elocution could replace one of the many PC subjects currently taught in schools, said David Laws. Yes, indeed, somebody who doesn't know anything about education, but there you go. Yes, and this other kind of weird notion that one of the reasons why working class people don't get on is because they speak badly. And if you look at Catherine Bursingley at the Michaela School, she's full of this kind of stuff. This idea that if you can teach working class kids to mimic middle class attitudes, then magically they'll just get on in life. Didn't help me. Well, it did help me, but there again, I was born in the 60s. It's a bit more complicated than that, isn't it? But you do get this broad strand of the reason why people don't get on is because they're stupid, or they just don't try hard enough, or they need a different set of skills from the ones that they stupidly acquired, when they went to college and got those diplomas in plumbing, or something similar. Yeah, indeed, which led me, inevitably, as these things always do, to think of Chris Grayling. Okay, a man who was born into exactly the right sort of family, who went to exactly the right sort of school and exactly the right college at Cambridge, I believe it was. And, so where exactly is the gene pool there, that theory, or indeed the hard work theory? Because he is a guy who, let's face it, is the epitome of all the, well, at least partially the epitome of so many reasons why so many people are not voting Conservative at this election. And he's still there. He's still in Parliament, and he will go to the House of Lords and legislate, still, with that genetic mix, which is obviously is ideal for the job, and he will speak very well in the House of Lords, and I'm sure he'll work very, very hard. Yes. Or indeed, and I'm just going to punt a little one for this, because when you're faced with somebody who's really, really horrible and sort of racist and transphobic and homophobic and just nasty, you immediately think of Florence Fox. Anyway, yeah, he was doing all of that stuff because he's decided to burn pride flags again. Something he gets paid for. All right, okay. But you think about that whole sort of genes, working hard, well-speaking stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, his dad was that actor. And he went to Harrow, albeit being kicked out, because I guess his work ethic wasn't very good. And then he became a middling actor, and then he was a failed songwriter. And then he discovered the true grifterdom that can come from pretending to be a member of a persecuted minority, in this case, rich white kids. But if you look at anything about this particular individual and any kind of reports that you'll see about him from his time at Reclaim Party, getting into a spat with Andrew Bridgeton as to who had the car at the weekend, his wife, obviously ex-wife, and what she has to say about him, and just look at what he doesn't do for a living these days. He doesn't have any work ethic. He is simply somebody who has traded on his background for the whole of his life, and he's still being paid for it. He knows full well that he will get more money burning pride flags than anything else, which perhaps does bring us neatly back to the royal kids and why they shouldn't be doing national service, because they all work very hard, don't they? Yeah, that's what we always hear. They always work very hard. Well, I would hope that they do, because they cost us a chuffing fortune, and I'm not quite sure what the working hard thing is, because it seems to be walking, shaking hands, and saying, "And what do you do?" And that's it. And I don't mind. I wouldn't mind getting that gig personally. I mean, I'd be happy to put a lot of hours in with the whole walking, shaking hands, and asking people what they do, to get that kind of remuneration. Any idea where I should apply for? I mean, not the Camden's People's Theatre, obviously, because, I don't have enough of a decent criminal record for that. But this is an inherent problem that we have. The people who come from that privileged strata in society will always justify the reason why they are in that privilege, justify why they're there. And magically, it's always because they worked very, very, very hard for it. Very hard, and you don't understand. Or if you still don't buy into that and kick up a fuss about it, it's because it's the politics of envy, isn't it? Yes. Because after all, I just have bad genes in me. It's the reason, why over the years I've only become a senior teacher about 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, whatever. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, it must be that. I must be stupid. Anyone who watches my videos knows how stupid I am. People often tell me I'm stupid. They can't tell me how I'm stupid or why I'm stupid, but I definitely am. Yes. Anyway, it's them bad genes, and I speak badly. Or do I? I don't know. I think I'm quite erudite, personally. Anyway, that one did tickle me yesterday, because it's still the same old guff. It's still the same thing. Making sure that you're not going to kick up a fuss about the system. And the people telling you this are always those who have gained the most from it and will continue to do so, in that Chris Grayling, Loza Fox style. Yeah. They'll get a very, very expensive coffin, won't they? No pauper's grave. Not for those princes, no. Anyway, do have a lovely rest of the day. It didn't quite tip it down yesterday, which is a bit surprising, I think, pour moi. Anyway, I've got to do some work today. Anyway, at least that means I'll get on in life, doesn't it? As long as I speak nicely, not like a Caribbean farm animal. Enoch was right. Jesus! And the Telegraph's still having him up. Oh my God!